In this video, we are going to discuss about the cryptographic cases and what could be the weaknesses of that. Let's get started. Cryptography, when you talk about hashing and encryption both, supports authentication and non-repudiation as well. There are some important parameters that you have to understand when you are using authentication and non-repudiation along with cryptographic standards. First of all, authentication and non-repudiation are dependent on the received to encrypt the message. Second, authentication and non-repudiation are supported by asymmetric key encryption ciphers only. Asymmetric key means using two different keys for encryption-decryption process. When you say non-repudiation, sender cannot deny that a message or an alert was not sent or an event did not take place. So this is the importance of non-repudiation. When an action has taken place, the sender or the receiver cannot deny it. This is recorded in some other location which the person does not have control over it, or the technology does not have control over it. So these are some of the important parameters that you have to understand when using authentication and non-repudiation along with cryptographic standards. The most important parameter of cryptography is that it supports confidentiality. When you say confidentiality, it means only the legitimate people have the access to read or modify the data. But there are some parameters that you have to understand for cryptography when it is used for confidentiality. Public key cryptography is only efficient when you are using small amount of data. Let's say a user is trying to connect to a web application and public key and private keys are used, which is a part of the public key infrastructure. Over there, this can be used for only small amount of data. It becomes a slower process when you have to deal with large amount of data and you have public key in cryptography enabled. Symmetric key is used for bulk encryption and is protected by public cryptography. It is much faster compared to asymmetric key encryption-decryption. Symmetric key encryption-decryption makes a key distribution difficult because the same key is used for encryption, the same key is used for decryption as well. So it makes the job difficult for the sender to share the key with the receiver. You have to depend upon the most secure channel for sharing the key details. When you are dealing with large amount of data and you are using cryptographic standards, there are some performance limitations. Let's understand them. First one is speed. The amount of data of number of operations performed per second is less because you have to follow encryption process. Again, you have to follow a decryption process. The data that should be visible in a clear text format is coming through an unsecured channel. So obviously you have to secure it by encryption-decryption process that is required, but that makes the speed a little bit slower. Time consuming. There is a delay in completing an operation. The file that could have been received in 1 second now is received in 1.5 seconds. So it consumes a little bit of extra time just for security purposes. Size. Key size increases security, but it also increases CPU or memory requirements. You being a security professional, you will definitely say, I want the best encryption and hashing algorithm. So definitely you are going to increase the size of the encryption and decryption process as well as the hashing algorithm. It is a good security step, but remember it has a negative impact as well. It might increase the CPU or memory requirements. It will create additional load on the devices. Fourth, computational overhead. It makes the data complex. If the receiving device is not able to decrypt the data properly, all the subsequent data will be received in a corrupt state. So complexity is very much inside a cryptographic data. So in order to understand what did we learn from this module, let's go through the key takeaways. When we see the key takeaways, the first point that we understood is like Cryptography is the skill of encrypting the data in order to make it secure. It includes hashing as well as encryption both. When we just precisely talk about hashing algorithm, these are the simplest cryptographic algorithm. And remember, these are one-way hash. You cannot do the reverse of converting the one-way hash value to a clear text value, but that is different in the case of encryption. Message integrity and authentication are not provided by symmetric algorithms. Symmetric algorithms means the keys are common for both encryption and decryption. In the end, cryptography eliminates the need for messages to be stored or transferred over secure media. Let's test your knowledge. Now let's test your knowledge. The first question says, person A digitally signs a message and sends it to person B. What does B require to verify A's signature? The correct answer is A. A's public key is required by person B. Second, what does a receiver create to check the integrity of a message? And the correct answer is B. A hashtag. We also call this as a hash value. Next, the security manager must keep a copy of the sensitive document and later verify that the document has not been altered. Which of the following will provide security against alteration, or let's say checking the integrity of the document? And the correct answer is C. MD5. MD5 is a hashing algorithm which will be used for checking the integrity of the document. So with this question we come to the end of this module. Let's move on to the next one.